What is going on, miners, and welcome back to the channel. Well, you are in for a treat. I am joined by not only then your friend Andy. How's it going, buddy?
Hello, I'm a treat. Thanks for having me.
So today Andy is joining me. Today we're talking about what's next. And Andy and I have had lots of opportunities over the last 12 months to come together and kind of chat a little bit kind of through this series that we've kind of quasi started, not even intentionally, where it started, back on how to get started mining and where, and then you are a crypto miner now, and then now kind of moving on to like what's next. And I thought this would be a lot of fun to really talk about what's next for us as miners, in crypto investors. What do we think's on the horizon for home miners, and then what's the direction really the industry we see going? So a lot of this is opinionated. It's not hard fact. We don't know anything more than anybody else. We're just two dudes in the crypto space that love it. We invest in it very heavily, and we enjoy talking about it. So Andy, are you ready to jump in?
Yes, let's talk about what's next.
What? And cue the music. Dun, dun, dun. Yeah, that's right. And there's no effects. Lame. Okay, so let's talk about you. So let's look at the next between now and 2025. So we're going to the tail end of 2024 here. What is next for you as a crypto miner first? Is there hardware you're looking at? Is there directions you're looking to point your miners? Kind of where are you going with your tech?
First off, it's going to be a lot of the same. So I'm just going to continue on with what I've already got operating. I have no intentions to, turn off any of my Bitcoin ASICs, even when they're like at borderline profitability, if not a few of them like losing a little bit of money. Whenever they're on that threshold, I just call that paying a premium for KYC free Bitcoin. So I'm just, business as usual with that stuff. And then also kind of closely monitoring the prices of the machines. I know that you are already ahead of me. You've got some S21 Pros, or you already have them, or they're on the way. I don't know. I'm just still, I have regular plain Jane vanilla 200 terahash S21. So I am considering, some Pros, or what's next along those lines. When is the price and kind of return balance the right? Is it going to be the right mix for me anytime soon? But then also just monitoring what those machines are doing on this, secondary market, eBay, Craigslist. What are they selling for? And just kind of watching that over the next year. But I'm also very curious about developments. As we record this, I think it was this morning that everything on the news
today.
Yeah. So we have a new contender has entered the arena. It's the same old players, but Alephium ASICs, some big boy ones. One we know the details of, the Bitmain one, and then IceRiver also today is like, oh, we got to tell everybody, we've got one coming too. And so, I have to then ask myself this question: is that an avenue I want to go down? Is this going to be like Kaspa, or is this going to be like Kadena? What's this going to be like? Am I gonna do I drop 30 grand on this thing, and it's an incredible opportunity to be one of the first to own one of these, incredibly profitable $600+ per day machines, or is it a flash in the pan? Am I gonna be like the people who just bought the AL boxes, the little ones that are gonna go from $100 a day to like $2 a day? So I'm also kind of exploring those opportunities and stuff, but also beyond that, just what are some other low power, low maintenance, like kind of set and forget kind of a things that I can throw in there, deep in type stuff. But I'm curious what you're doing next.
Have you ever thought about trying a crypto trading bot, or was too intimidated, or wasn't sure where to get started? That was me a few months ago, but then I found Pionex US had an AI trading bot. With just a few easy clicks, you can copy an existing AI trading bot and get started in just a few minutes. I'm currently running several trading bots on Pionex.us. My Solana to Bitcoin one is doing okay, but my Ethereum to Bitcoin AI trading bot is kicking butt. If you're interested, Pionex US has sponsored this video and is offering $30 free to my community to get started with one of their trading bots with no strings attached. Just click the link directly down below to get started. It's entirely free. Man, you just talked about enough that like we could talk about just what you talked about for like an hour.
Each one.
I know. Yeah. So for me, my current ASIC shed is filling up quickly. I only have 6 slots left, so it's crazy to think that like all that work, all that time, all that effort. But I'd say over the last 3 weeks, ever since we got back from mining Disrupt, actually, I have been just getting everything online. I got my last miner on yesterday that I had available to me. And so, yeah, so things are looking great. I have the S21 Pro that you talked about, one here. I also sent one off to Terra Hosting to get hosted as well. So those are both up and running, which is fantastic. I got one miner back from them that I want to actually sell. You know, talking about selling things, I'm starting to sell some of my mini box miners and my light miners, the mid-sized gold shells. They've been sitting, and I'm like, I just got to move this inventory. You know, I'll take some of that cash flow, put it into other things. And is now the best time? Is there going to be a better time in the next year and a half? Probably. But I'm like, all right, let me just take my profits and move on with my day. So that has been fantastic. Between the S21 Pros that I got in, the KS5L that I bought at Mining Disrupt, that was a recent purchase that has been very fruitful so far, which has been great. I am so thrilled to get my hands on that early, like as we talk about, like getting it, you know, that one, I believe I got it up and running before even they shipped any, which I was thrilled. I should have bought more. I definitely should have bought more after getting home.
I should have bought just one.
Oh yeah, I know. Yeah.
Whoops.
Yeah. So that's been great. What else do we get in the DR7, which that's a whole other story. I had a video on that today on just craziness of the volatility of mining and how the hash rate affects it. So yeah, so outside of that, for me, what is next as a miner is I'm actually traveling out west to Denver, Colorado with my son in about 4 weeks, and we are buying 12 Kaspa miners, and we are driving them across the U.S. from Denver, Colorado, back to Pennsylvania. So we're gonna make a whole road trip out of it. It's gonna be a lot of fun. So yes, to say that I am bullish on Kaspa, 100%. So I'm excited for that coming up here. I am gonna sell some. Some of them are like KS1s, and maybe I'll keep some KS2s. I mean, right now KS2s are still doing really well. So I can't really complain for the price I got them at. I might as well run them. Got some KS3Ms coming in. So that's kind of where I'm at for now, you know, where we move forward. Now, I am also looking to expand again to a third location. So that's already on the horizon, already kind of putting things in place on that, because I don't see me stopping anytime soon at this point. So I have a lot going on from the miner perspective, continuing to expand. And I started that during the bear market, and I just have not let off the throttle at all. Just kept expanding and growing my mining arsenal for sure.
So with the Kaspa machines, I'm curious. Someone asked me this recently.
Yep.
You know, obviously, there's the IceRiver end of things. You can buy a KS5L hosted with IceRiver and have it online. You know, by August, I think. And in my mind, that's a little bit more unproven, and so I'm a little hesitant to trust that because you know, it doesn't have like a multi-year long track record. And I've been, as much as I like IceRiver, I've also kind of don't like them sometimes because I've been a little burned with the KS3Ms and the reliability issues and stuff. And my KS3M right now is full hashing, and I'm so happy. But you know, for months now, it's been like a one board down, then back up again, then down again. Yeah. But on the flip side, there's the Bitmain units, which are way more expensive, but they have a better reliability. And if you get those hosted somewhere, there's the price you pay today because they're available right now. And then there's like the September batch, or you know, whatever you pick of the next batch. Those prices and those prices. So today, if you get a Bitmain KS5 Pro and it's like $18,000 to $21,000, well, September batch might be $12,000 to $14,000 or something.
Exactly.
So how do you think about, like, what would you do in that situation if you have those two options? If you're going to go with a Bitmain machine and you're trying to think about through the profitability and opportunity cost either direction between buying now and paying a premium or waiting and getting a discount.
Yeah, no, it's a great point. You actually mentioned the KS5 Pro. Yes, I have one of those coming next month too. So like stack on the Kaspa on top of that. But it's really interesting.
I gotta work on this. I gotta catch up. I've fallen so far behind at this point with you.
Andy and I have this battle every time we record where it's like, how many miners you got? Oh, I got this many. Oh, I just bought 5 more. Oh crap, I'm gonna go buy some more. So we keep each other definitely going. But yeah, you have a really good point there. So I think IceRiver has done a great job with Kaspa of getting their product line out before Bitmain, significantly before. And so I think I was actually just listening to, you had Greater Good Mining on your channel, your podcast channel the other day. Great content there with him. And he is a staple of example of buying something early at a crazy expensive price, 20, 30,000, whatever, and then taking that amount of money and then just taking off with that and making hundreds of thousands of dollars walking away with that. And he also invested in Kaspa very early. So I do think that there's something to be said about being first with these things. Bitmain does, and I think it comes down to scale though, because when I look at this and I talk with a lot of mining farms, a lot of larger size scaled individual setups, if you are at a larger scale and you're like, I'm buying 50 of these, the fact of having Bitmain units that you know are more reliable, that mining farms will support, that you can get them repaired within the US, that technicians come to these hosted mining farms to fix, is I think a little bit like it's worth waiting, or it's worth paying that extra premium for, versus I feel like for our situations where we're traditionally buying one-offs or 2 here or there, whatever, I feel like IceRiver is the way to go. And I guess the question is you can only make the decision in that moment. So like the IceRiver releases, okay, great. Like, but where is that in perspective with the Bitmain? Traditionally, we don't usually get them the same time. They've usually been spread apart. I think today was the only example of Alephium miners being released or announced at the exact same time. So I think that's really what comes into mind for me.
Yeah, there's certainly first mover, and that's why I'm so curious what's going to happen with these Alephium units. Like, on one hand, I really think it could go, either way. Like I thought Kaspa, and this is, again, I've told the story a bunch of times why I sold a big chunk of my bag early on. It was like right when the ASICs were announced, because I assumed incorrectly, we sometimes we make wins and successes, and sometimes we have fails and we learn lessons. It's all part of the process. But I assumed that what would happen to Kadena would happen to Kaspa. Big boy ASICs would come, massive sell pressure would come with them because people want to break even as soon as possible. And here we are, and Kaspa is 18 cents, and I believe when the ASICs were announced, it was somewhere between 3 and 5 cents. So, okay, that clearly did not happen. But Alephium, is the same thing going to happen? Is it going to be a Kaspa, or is it going to be a Kadena? Like, so
yeah,
I'm so
no. It's a really good point. And for those of you guys watching this, you're probably going to watch this about a week and a half later than when we recorded this. We recorded this on July 19th, which is, as Andy said, the day of Bitmain and IceRiver making these announcements. So we only know what we know now. So don't leave comments like, guys, you didn't. I guarantee there's news that comes out in the next week and a half. But yeah, you're not wrong. I actually made a Twitter post very briefly discussing my skepticism here, because I'm just really not sure where to go from here as a miner. We want to get excited about Alephium. We want to be early mining Alephium with these big miners, because we look at Kaspa. Kaspa is the last thing that we can reference between IceRiver and Bitmain, and we're like, okay, is this another Kaspa? Well, we can hope as miners. We'd love to have another project that is very similar to that. However, my concern is that Alephium hasn't been performing well recently. We now have these massive miners come out that are going to destroy the network hash rate, and the price isn't there. The price discovery isn't there to support it. Now, Alephium's up 50% in the last 24 hours based off of this news right now. But on my Twitter post, I even made a comment that's like, is there some market manipulation here going on with Bitmain? They got the money for it. They got the power for it to be like, we're announcing our miner, and then, Alephium's going up to encourage purchase. So that's where I'm concerned about it, because Bitmain's not dumb. They are everywhere and anywhere. And so that's a lot of my concern there. I did have the 𝐓𝐨𝐷𝐿, and then the 𝐓𝐵ox 2 was supposed to be shipping to me from Goldshell. But then I looked today and the tracking hasn't moved. And I'm like, I wonder if they literally just canceled all the orders and we're done with it. Based off of, because they were charging crazy prices before these announcements were there. And now it's like, you can't charge that amount. You can't even charge 50% of that. So isn't even worth it to move forward with those. So that being said, yeah, it was a lot up in the air. So by the time you guys watch this in the next week and a half, there might be more news coming out on Alephium. The price may go up, price may go down. The miners coming out. I mean, I think that's really going to be a key factor. Traditionally, IceRiver comes in cheaper than Bitmain. However, Bitmain traditionally comes in higher performing.
Yeah, and if if you're watching this and it's just like you're screaming at the computer monitor because you're like, it's clear Alephium's going to do great. These are going to be a fantastic, buy or whatever. Just keep in mind that, I have a limited picture, but in the entire time I've been in crypto, which is a fairly substantial amount of time, there's way more examples like Kadena than there are like Kaspa when it comes to the big big ASICs coming online. That's why I was so surprised by Kaspa, because I have so many examples littering the history of crypto, of Bitmain or whoever else releasing a big ASIC, and it just decimates the price and the profit. Yeah, so we'll see, I guess.
Yeah, the one I can think about, over a year ago, I think it was, I got my hands on the 𝐘𝐸, part of a sponsorship deal with a company on hardware. Got it in. It was when it was originally released, it was going for like $40,000. Absolutely insane. Yeah. And it was like, wow, can't believe it. Got it in. And a week later, after I started to get it in, Bitmain released the KA3, which was doing far more from a hash rate perspective, like 2 or 3x, and the 𝐘𝐸 became a paperweight. It became a paperweight. It wasn't even on the market for 6 months. It didn't even have a 6-month spread. And that's really a great example here, is like Goldshell with the AL and AL box too. They have had like 4 months, the AL box. So that's just some concern there for sure. And I definitely get it. So jumping ahead there a little bit, looking over the next several months here, up to 2025, let's talk about what you see next for home miners, because I think that entire industry of home mining has really shifted. We've seen a lot of that at Mining Disrupt and such like that. Where do you see it in the future? Is it still traditionally GPU mining? Or do you see things shifting over the next 6 months?
I don't think GPU mining is dead, but it's certainly it's not looking great at the moment. I think everybody who's in this space knows that, and that certainly can change if the bull run rolls around and there's a resurgence of stuff. But is that going to continue in the way it has in its former glory in years past? I don't know. I'm a little hesitant to like fully buy into that. I think the name of the game for home miners is certainly efficiency, but also with some versatility. Like talking about the AL box, for example, that mines Alephium, and that's it. And it's a low power miner. But we've seen other these small home little mini ASICs and stuff, especially like the ETH or ETC hash ones, where there's a slew of other things you can mine with. There's some versatility in that low power machine you bought. So I think having some flexibility, versatility, while also doing something that's lower power where you can kind of change around and speculate a little bit is an interesting thing for home miners that I think is here to stay in some capacity. But again, like I mentioned a little while ago, you're looking at DPIN type stuff. So this is not actually hashing miners like what we filled our sheds and hosting facilities with, but things that we call miners, but they're really more like nodes or a simple piece of hardware that does some function. You get rewarded, arbitrarily, whatever they decide the tokenomics to be around that. You're not actually crunching numbers with increasing difficulty or whatever. I see that as being an increasing importance in people who are doing this home thing. My friend, who's also a YouTuber, CryptoJar, he posted on Twitter yesterday, or maybe it's today, his DPIN shed. So we don't have ASIC mining sheds or GPU mining sheds. We have DPIN sheds now, which is cool. And it was just littered with antennas and devices and sensors and stuff. And I thought that was so cool because what do you spend a year on that? $100 a year in electricity to run the entire shed or something? I mean,
that's
each thing
nuts.
is 5 watts. So I think that
incredible.
type of stuff is really interesting for the home miner, and I think there's going to be way more of that, hopefully, especially if the idea of DPIN catches fire like it has going forward.
Yeah, I think last bull run, it was interesting. GPU mining was so popular that we saw people scale so quickly as home miners, and to the point where, like my great example, trying to run 100 GPUs in a basement just didn't make sense anymore, or in a garage just didn't really work anymore. And I think things are very different now, and I think moving forward they will be very different. I do agree with you. GPU mining has its place, but I don't know that it's at scale anymore. I think a lot of these GPU miners I've seen investing into AI rigs and a few of these here and there, but like having 100 GPUs has no value to anybody right now. You're spending more money running them than you're making, and that's not changing. I do think, though, you are correct in the direction of diversifying. A lot of these low watt miners that are ETC miners or are Kaspa miners, or we have the AlphaPex units coming out, the silent home miner. A lot of these home miners, these jazz miners, all of these I think are the direction we're going. Great efficiency, lower watts, allows you to diversify at home, which is fantastic. And then on top of that, the DPIN side I agree with as well. Like, I actually forgot to mention, I actually rented a 55-foot boom lift, gets here tomorrow, and I'm installing, I have to replace my Helium 5G antenna. It has a bad GPS module, so I have a new one to put up. But then I'm also installing a WeatherXM unit at the peak of my roof, as well as a GeoNet unit. And it's like,
yes.
So yeah, I feel like Doc from like Back to the Future, like starting to get all these antennas off of like my house and stuff. But yeah, so like DPIN, as you said, I do think there's a space for that. And a lot of home miners made out very well with Helium 5G, and with things like Hive Mapper or Demo over the last year. And your electric cost is very minimal there. So I do agree. And on top of that, the node side, like I do think a lot of people are going the node route. A lot of people are setting up nodes at home, or like you and I, like we love running ours with Node Orbit. We go that route, which is kind of a hosted solution available to you. But the nice thing is like all of those are within reason for home miners. I think we're moving away from full garages or sheds full of GPUs, one from high electric cost and also just low profit. And then on the ASIC side, I don't expect people to be doing what I'm doing, building a full-blown ASIC shed, dedicated to such a thing. A lot of people are going the route that you're going, which is like hosting, which totally makes sense when you get to scale. So I do think that's what the future holds. I think we as home miners from the last bull run are really holding on to GPU mining. And I feel like it benefits individuals that are listening right now, which I know I have a majority GPU mining audience, is, don't hold on to that, GPU miner, tag, like release that and really look into diversification. Because at the end of the day, guys, we're just looking to make money. Like at the end of the day, that's what we're looking to do for sure.
Yeah, and I mean, it's just we had such a paradigm shift. We had Ethereum, we had this massive, elephant in the room with us that was mineable, and then when that changed, all of a sudden we lost that, hugely big crypto in the space that was mineable that everybody could kind of fall back on if they weren't doing speculative stuff. And then all that hatchery tried to find a home somewhere for a little while. There was some promise, but then it just it all kind of fell apart. So. The scale of it is really tough unless there's the AI angle. But yeah, I think what you just said at the very end is the big takeaway here, and that is if you're being like if you're treating this like a religion, or you're being dogmatic about
very
it,
well
you're
said.
You're hanging on to it just because it's like a part of your identity, and you don't want to let go of that. I mean, that's fine, but you have to at least hopefully be recognizing the opportunity cost of doing something like that. You can poo-poo on people who went from GPUs mainly to ASICs, and now it's like, oh, they sold out or whatever. But, this at the end of the day, like, we can be hobbyists to a certain degree, but if you're spending thousands of dollars every month on electricity, you have to be pragmatic and treat it like a business to some degree. And if you're not doing that and looking through that filter, I think you're going to get burned into a place to where you can't recover from it. So it's like your the crypto positions and bags you hold. Don't become too dogmatic to where you've married them to where you just it's so emotionally tied to it you can't let go of them. Just be open to the idea that profits should probably be taken at some point, and sometimes it is okay to move on from these things, because crypto is brutal if you don't.
Yeah, definitely. So last thing we'll leave off on is just, where do we see the crypto industry moving in the next 6 months? For me, we just had the RNC going on, and a lot of people were hoping on more and more announcements regarding the fact of like Bitcoin was announced. We got Trump attending Bitcoin Nashville, where you will be coming up here soon. There's a lot more Bitcoin support in mainstream media right now, and we're starting to see it. And Bitcoin has actually rebounded pretty well over the last week, which has been fantastic. We're seeing a lot of crypto doing the same thing. So over the 6 months, we don't have some magic 8 ball, but what do you foresee here over the next 6 months or so with crypto?
I mean, I really think the next 6 months, we're probably materially not going to see some massive, spectacular fireworks. But more like the 9 to 12 month time frame, we might start seeing some of that stuff. The election is such a big deal for the crypto stock market, especially. But then alongside that, the crypto market, which has traditionally been fairly correlated with the stock market. It also really depends on what happens with the interest rates and stuff like that. I think we might only have one drop this year if we do, but that could also change, and that would dramatically change the trajectory of this stuff. Right now, we're waiting to see when the ETH ETF actually launches, and that we don't know what that's gonna. Is that gonna have the same impact that the Bitcoin ETF has had? Is it gonna have the same kind of inflows, or are people gonna be? It's like a total snooze fest. We just don't know what that's gonna impact. And then, of course, who actually gets to become the next president will probably have a massive effect on all this stuff. But regardless of who that person is and what your political beliefs or biases or identities are, it is pretty amazing how just in the past 3 or 4 months how much the conversation has shifted to be very anti-crypto in the US to now we're just at least discussing it at a massive scale to where it is being talked about in political speeches and stuff. So even if it's not the greatest, or it's neutral, or it's like lofty pandering promises, which is probably what a lot of it is, it's being talked about, which is a net positive for everybody, because now all of a sudden it has all this extra exposure with people who just normally don't even think about this stuff, and now it's like a word in their head and they have to understand what that word means. So that is probably really bullish for crypto long term as well.
Yeah, I think you make a really good point. I think we're going to be in this lull up till the election, coming up here, till a different administration comes in, and then I think everyone's going to be hyped. Whatever administration that is will be hyped about something new and different. So I think that will be definitely beneficial. I do agree with you. It's been quite this weird reversal of interest in Bitcoin. We're actually seeing, from a political part, as you said, it's actually a talking point now. We're talking about the border. We're talking about the economy, and Bitcoin, like support of crypto and cryptocurrency and crypto mining. And I think that also goes hand in hand with jumping back on the fact of I am finding more and more that people are putting their traditional investments into Bitcoin, into cryptocurrency, away from your traditional investments that you would see in money market accounts or index funds. Because let's be honest, with inflation right now, most people do not have a lot of faith in the traditional markets, especially in the US dollar. And so I think that's where we're seeing this as well, is people are really starting to march to the pace of okay, Bitcoin is a great avenue to go to put investment in. Am I saying take all of your 401k, cash it out and put it in there? No, but I think I'm just going to put 5% or 10% into crypto out of my portfolio is a thing of the past. I think people are becoming more and more bullish on I need to put more into that, which is fantastic. I think we're seeing this evolve, and I think the election is just helping to kind of jumpstart this in the right direction.
Yeah, and I think that sentiment you just mentioned, regardless again of which political affiliation you have, both sides of the aisle over the past 2 terms have just mercilessly printed the US dollar into oblivion. So I don't care which side you're on, both are just as guilty of this as the other, and both are working to erode your wealth and your buying power with your US dollar that you earn. So I think people, you can be gung-ho about whoever you want, but I think more and more people are waking up to the fact that inflation is here to stay. It's been here since 1974, whenever we went up the gold standard. It's only getting worse. One day you're going to be going and buying, your $15 coffee. You're going to be buying your $12 dozen of eggs or whatever. That's just stuff that's going to happen unless we repeg the dollar to Bitcoin or gold or something like that.
Let's do it. Bitcoin sounds good. I like
which
it.
Would be cool. Which RFK has been saying for a couple of years now. Now Trump is saying it. So I don't. Maybe someone will be crazy enough to try something like that. But unless something like that happens, we're going to continue losing our buying power. And as we lose buying power, people are going to continue to get fed up. and the sentiment's going to be, maybe I shouldn't have as much confidence in this fiat US dollar thing that everyone says is so great and so wonderful. Maybe I should look for something that is a hedge against that, and naturally crypto is that alternative if you're not like a super traditionalist and you go with something like gold.
Yeah, totally agree. Totally agree. Well, guys, it's 30 minutes already. Andy and I just get together and talk forever, which is good. So we're going to end things off there, but we talked about a lot in this 30 minutes. So I love your thoughts, your feedback down below. We always enjoy reading these comments, continuing the conversation down in the comments. As always, if you are not familiar with the guy sitting next to me here, I will leave links to all of his content down below. But I do encourage you to go over and check out his podcast series. He has a great podcast series. I love listening to it when I'm working on mining rigs. I was in my shed getting 2 rigs up and mining, and I listened to 2 of his podcasts just in one sitting, and they're great conversations. So please go over and check those out. But for myself and Andy, we'll see you guys next time. Take care.
Goodbye.
Sorry to interrupt your video, but check this out. I constantly get emails from the community asking me about trustworthy hosting facilities in the United States that I recommend. Well, I got you covered. Listen up. A few months back, I visited BlockOps Mining's brand new facility in Central Arkansas. The team there was super professional, knowledgeable, and everyday miners like you and I. After visiting the facility, I sent them a few of my ASIC miners for hosting and have been super happy with their service and communication. Go contact BlockOps Mining directly down below in the video description and tell them the Hobbyist Miner sent you for great pricing on miners and hosting.